Here we go. Welcome back to another Recruiting Essentials here at Prep Baseball. I am your host, Shooter Hunt, with an ultra extra special guest because he is a defending national champion, recruiting coordinator extraordinaire, Josh Elander from Tennessee. Go Vols. Josh, welcome to the show.
What's up, Shooter? Always good to I know I'm in the right place when I'm hanging out with you. So been looking forward to this, and thank you for having me on.
For sure. We've had some great talks in the past, but before we go into anything, and you are incredibly modest, wonderful human being. So allow me to pump you up a little bit because when I bring coaches on, I like to talk about their playing days because I'm sure a lot of the kids, even on your team right now, don't know how good you were. So I'm going to go through. I'm on the Vols website. Any future recruits, be sure to check on there because we're talking to a multi All-American, freshman All-American. You went to Omaha. You were at TCU, 6th-round pick of the Braves. Some incredible stuff. You were the Atlanta Braves minor league player of the year in 2013. So anybody who's going to campus and camp, when Coach E is saying, hey, maybe you want to do this, hey, listen to the guy. He's got a clue up there. But incredible stuff. I can remember your TCU days. You were right after, I guess I would have done. So that would have been after Kashner. What, right? Andrew Kashner was
Yeah.
there.
Yep. Castner, Holiday, all those guys. It was a good group ahead of us.
I mean, you and not to like date us too much, but like you played in the Mountain West. Like I went through
Yeah. No, well, that was Mountain West was good. I mean, Eric Fetty and Steven Strasburg, and there's some really good relievers at San Diego State, some good position players, and it was a good league. And I love kind of going to the West Coast. I've never been out there as a player. We just kind of played in Central Texas growing up, or Dallas, or Houston, and so get to play against a bunch of new people. That was a cool experience for sure.
you like that? They just change up you to death. They're going in and out, up, down, and going change up, change up, change up.
Yeah, what's different? I feel like now everybody throws, 98 at the top of the zone with 20 inches of vert. Everybody's got the ride. But back, we always joke about it. Like Coach Kivitz on our staff was a great player, and this was your MO, like the sinker guy. Those were the guys who used to. They were just boring that thing in the front door, and then they'd have a change up or a little slider going the other way. So it's changed a little bit, but it was fun. That was a good time.
And you're talking about some of the data already, just flying in there and right. It's especially from my side of things when we're ranking players, we're looking at the top prospects. All of a sudden, a kid commits to Tennessee these days, especially an arm. It's like, oh no, is this guy going to jump? Is he going to start throwing 100? Who is this guy going to be? How is the data really affected you? Not affected, but like helped you guys out. What are you looking for?
Yeah, I love it, especially on the pitching side. I think right now we can all agree the pitching analytics are a little bit ahead of the hitting side. I know
Mhm.
TrackMan's coming out with some stuff this year in the SEC. I'm really looking forward to diving into
Ooh,
with some swing plane stuff, and yeah, that'll be very exciting. But even on the road, like at the futures games, like I found a way to make sure I have, there's so many different things you can look at. I like that, some guy, hey, if this guy is 6'6", I probably want to look at his extension. What is his release height? Is it a flat? Is it a steep vertical approach angle? Like how does everything kind of put together to give you an objective picture of what the guy is now, but what the hitter's seeing? Because when
mm,
I'm recruiting, it's pretty simple. When I try to get a pitcher, I know I got Frank Anderson here, who's the best in the game, but it's hey, this is a guy that I'd want to catch and would not want to hit off of. So that's kind of my frame of reference when I'm watching guys. And then the Tampa Bay Rays are really good. As far as player development, doing different things. I remember seeing something just kind of scrolling through social media a few years ago, and they had like a picture of a clock, and they had basically arm
yeah.
slots all the way over from lefties, righties. So, again, there's like a profile we like. We like the guys that are athletic, that can jump, that have some projectability and some toughness, but also too, I think different looks is a really good thing too, because it makes you harder to prepare for as a team going into SEC.
I love that Ray's image and Brett the Jet, our producer. Maybe we grab that image and put it up. And I found it so fascinating because what difference? I love side armors. I think back to Kirby. I can remember. I remember when he was in Missouri and we were watching him as like a freshman and sophomore, and like the interior for us was like, this guy's just an absolute baller. He's going to win. That's all he does. But finding those guys, whether it's a sidearm lefty, a guy steps across who can throw really hard, who can make those jumps. But it sounds like to me, it's when it comes down to it, does this guy move well? Do we think he has a chance to really get to that next level? And that's something you guys have found.
Yeah, I think, we want athleticism, guys that have clean, their arms work, right? Obviously, a chance to make a jump. But, one of my favorite guys last year was, we've had some incredible prospects from Dolander and Burns and
Mm-hmm.
Beam and all these guys. But AJ Causey was just I remember looking at his metrics with Zach Stovall, our director of analytics, and we were just so excited. We were seeing how just different it was. The release height is crazy low. The fastball's up to 93. So it's like you throw that kind of in the mix, and I mean, it's just so hard to prepare for. That was a good little wrinkle for us last year, and he was a big part of us having a great year.
I love, and you talk about the analytics. All you big schools now have these analytics teams. I'm thinking back to my days. It was like we had no other coaches. It was we were doing everything. Now it's like we got analytics teams. How do you though balance the ability for those analytics teams to provide so much information versus, hey, we're going to paralyze these guys with too much info? Is that something you have to think about?
Yeah, I think that's the most important question there is because again, I always talk about the hitters. It's like getting lost in the woods, right? When you start digging for too much stuff, and then
Hmm.
now you're in the middle of the woods and you got no way to get back, right? So I think we have the best pitching coach in college baseball. I mean, if you look at his resume, it's he's had the most big leaguers. His son pitched in the big leagues for 14 years. Again, he's really really good. But part of his deal that makes him so good is the balance between letting guys have the freedom to how they prepare, but also diving into the analytics and also blending it with simplicity, right? So, for example, like Aaron Combs got the last out of the national championship. I mean, that guy was looking at his release height and adjusting things to get more spin on his fastball and all kinds of different deals. And he would work with Frank and Zach and Sean McCann on that. And then other guys, they just want to kind of grip it and rip it, where it's like, Dolander, your stuff is elite, like elite, elite. It's a
Yeah.
mentality piece of like, hey, just go get this guy. Like, let's be on the attack. So, I've been so blessed and fortunate to learn from Frank and Tony. Now, this is year 8, which is crazy to think about, but it's been cool to see the mix. But just to kind of backtrack, like the simple way is there has to be like an education element too. And I think you guys have really helped, especially at PBR, just because you guys have where these guys now know their spin rate. There's a base knowledge that's needed where you can kind of dive in a little bit more if the player wants to go that route, right? So again, that really helps as far as player development, especially on the pitching side. So again, I think you guys have gotten so much better. It's made our job easier because the baseline knowledge now we can kind of just stack a little bit on top and then adjust based on what we see and what the player is really trying to accomplish.
Well, we really appreciate you saying that because we're always trying to keep up with you guys now, national champions. Let's talk a little bit about that evaluation, not just the pitchers, hitting as well, because I like to say, for as good as you guys are, right? You've gone out there. Tony Vitello has done a great job going over to Tennessee to now, the face of college baseball in many senses at this point as national champions. But what you guys do so well is you evaluate at the highest level. It's not just you go out there, you throw on your nice orange shirts. Everybody can see you all over. You got your nice uniforms. I always talk about those black jerseys with the orange, my favorite, Coach Vitello. But you evaluate really well. Not just, hey, this guy's ranked in the top 10. This is the top guy. No, we go beyond that. Hey, this guy can really hit. And there are certain guys where internally for me behind the scenes, hey, I like this guy. He's not the profile center fielder, 6'5" runner, but this dude's going to hit. And you guys seem to go all in on those guys. You're not unsure of your talents evaluating. You go out there and just do it. And then obviously they come on campus, do a really good job. What is it about when you go on the road and you see these kids, especially the future games, kind of that first time, hey, this is going to be those guys. What are you guys looking for from the hitting side of things? And then how do you guys talk internally about it?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. Well, if I had to keep it as simple as possible, like just the first branch of the tree would be above our locker room. It says ball players only.
Hmm.
So that's what we want. We want ball players. That's it.
Ball players only. Nice.
Again, that's something that we stole from Coach Van Horn when we worked over at Arkansas. I obviously have so much respect for him, but it's something we really believe in the building, right? If you're a ball player, you're playing to win, you're being a good teammate, you're doing the things it takes to win. Again, selfless, all the things that's simple, right? So that's what we're looking for on the road. And then, when you evaluate pitchers and hitters, it's different, right? Because I think on the pitching side, again, we talked about the things that we look for, like would I want to catch this guy? Would I not want to hit off this guy? And then I also have the metrics
Hmm.
and then be able to call you and say, hey, what do you got on this guy? I really liked him today, but how was he 2 weeks ago when I was at this event? Now, hitters, it's very simple. I just like to watch like crazy intelligence, just observe. Tony always talks about in our team meeting how he's got the St. Louis background, like Tony La Russa. We had some crossover when I was in the minor leagues with the Diamondbacks, and I got traded over. And his best trait, people would always say, was just critically observing the game, like literally just watching. So again, like I always sit kind of with my iPad at events, and I don't ever want to appear to be rude, but it's just I'm really trying to like lock in, like how do guys react in between pitches, like what is the body language? Like, is the rhythm on time? Like, is it consistent how they get to their position to launch? Like, what do their takes look like? And then
Mm,
how they get out of the box? How do they do when they hit a homer? Or again, how do they turn around the bases? So to me, it's very simple. Just watch. But as you know, we've had some long days where we've cooked in the sun out there
y-
over the years, and
yeah.
you've been there since 7:45, and it's 7:45 p.m. and you're still trying to stay locked in. So I think hitters just more volume. Like I'd like to watch 10, 15 at bats at least. But again, now we have with y'all's database and so many people that we trust in the industry, whether it be Hunter or the guys down in Georgia, or
Hmm.
Goins, and those guys are my favorite. Long time with them, like they really help
Oh,
close that
you're
gap for
Texan
us.
bias, born and raised.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay.
You talk about the evaluating of hitters, and we've spent some really awesome, like some of my favorite conversations, just breaking down certain guys, and you've kind of along with Tony and Frank and the rest of the staff done such a great job. When you got to Tennessee, it was not, hey, we roll up and everybody commits to us. It was
No,
something
no,
that
no, no.
so like, but now it's the point now, hey, everybody wants to come, right? You got California kids committing, Arizona, all over. Your evaluations have to get even better because you're going to have to say no. You're going to make some tough picks. Hey, we got these two guys. This kid's going to be a second rounder. This kid's going to be a first rounder. We kind of can't go wrong, but like we want to make the right choice on this. And you talk about getting multiple looks. Now, from our standpoint, right, the data, we have incredible data. It sounds like you guys are coming through the profiles. You're probably scanning it. I should honestly probably get a class with you guys to see how to use our own site a little bit better because you got the game genie all breaking over it. But getting those in-game at bats and those decision-making abilities, you talk about the balance in those swing decisions, they're so important. So, but for you to know to watch that guy, how do you go in there? What is your preparation right for the 2027 right now? Can't talk to him. Maybe he's come to camp. How are you grabbing those names so that, hey, I'm gonna want 20 at bats on this guy, but I may miss if I don't know who he is, I miss 10. So how do you grab those
Yeah.
names right now?
No, that's a great question. I mean, it has changed so much because, again, 5 years ago or 4 years ago when they changed the rule, we were on the phone all night, every night. I mean, you go home, and again, like I remember when we first got here to Tennessee, we got told no a lot, and
Mhm.
Tony put his neck on the line and gave me this job, and I was like, I may not be any good at it yet. I know I'm young, but I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure to have that guy's back because he had mine. So it was cool because we got a lot of no's, and then we got some really good yeses, and we got the right guys in the building, but learned a lot along the way. But with the 2027, I just think in any class, like you're never going to get everybody, you're never going to lose anybody in the draft, right? So I know like some of the local media now has been really kind of tuned into our recruiting way more so than we first got here. And it's funny, I'll see like, well, that guy's never showing up, or and then my counter is, I mean, he was a little bit after you. He was my age. Matt Perk was a guy. He's one
Oh
of my
yeah,
best friends. We were in each other's
southpaw.
weddings, still talk. I mean, he's 98 mile an hour lefty, first round pick out of high school, kind of a quirky situation, but gets to school. And the guy was 16-0 as a freshman. We went to Omaha, left after his sophomore year, signed for $4.3 million, right? So that's where kind of my reference. You got to go after the big dogs, right? But in 2027 specifically, I have a list of probably 100 guys, right? So I try to
Okay.
keep it organic where you guys have phenomenal lists where the top 10s in the state, you guys nail it every year. I love kind of going back like 5 years ago and looking at this was the fourth guy. He's really good, or now this guy's in double A, whatever it may be. So there's a track record there that is very trustworthy. But when I make my initial list, it may just be, hey, somebody text me a video and I
Mhm.
watch it and I'm like, yeah, I like this guy a lot, or kind of, hey, let's see this guy again. So I have kind of three tiers, right? Where it's like no brainers, like this guy he's throwing 95 as it's beautiful, clean as a whistle as a sophomore in high school, right? And then again, kind of maybe the follow guys, and then other guys, it's like, hey, I really trust this guy that has texted me. Let's make sure I get to see this guy this spring. And then, now we have Coach Kivett on staff, which I'm really excited to have his intensity back and the help on the recruiting side. But, traditionally 2, 3 years ago, we were gone Mondays, Thursdays, and we're just trying to find a way like to have an edge to get ahead, maybe go see a kid. And we still do some of that for sure. But I think it's a little bit more condensed as we look at the potential roster changes and all that. But it's an all the time thing, like having the list, moving guys up. Hey, I saw this video. Let me call Goins down in Texas or whatever it may be. Right. So, and speaking of, like, I love y'all's preseason events right now too. It's cool to see those guys that maybe saw a little bit at the futures games that were younger, and
Mhm.
then all of a sudden, well, boom, here's this big jump over the winter. So those are always fun to kind of follow.
it
going into spring.
it is so important to grab those lists, and you're hearing it right now, like why Tennessee has been so good on the recruiting trail. They're working out throughout the year. I'm sure, hey, we're going to A&M this week, and you're probably eyeing a Thursday night matchup if somebody has a
Oh,
league
yeah.
play, and whether it's Houston Lamar or Houston Memorial. So we're going to go over and check this out, whatever it may be. We're going to Mississippi. We're going to Louisiana, wherever it may be. You guys are trying to find out, where can we go? What can we do JUCO-wise from a Monday game? It really says a lot about your staff. And it sounds like Tony brought, if Kivett has you were very nice about the energy he brings from your side, where you seem to be very mellow about things. I'm sure behind closed doors you can get fired up, but you do a good job keeping your head. You two in the office must be absolutely electric. I got to get into Knoxville soon to see that.
No, he's good to have back. You know, it was good he got to go to Houston and work with Coach Whitting for a few years. And again, he was part of the very beginning of this deal. So, you know, it's cool to have him back kind of in the mix with all the stadium stuff going up, because he was a part of that. There's no doubt.
Now, tell me about the stadium stuff a little bit, because I kind of dove into it. It looked really nice. The plans. What is that done now? When will it be?
So the stadium initially was supposed to be just under 100 million,
Oh,
and
geez.
now the construction's going crazy on campus. I mean, enrollment's up higher than it's ever been at Tennessee. I think just with football doing so great, basketball's always good with Coach Barnes. Again, softball with Coach Weekly. It is a really cool time to be at Tennessee ball. But again, our stadium specifically now will be close to 110 million when it's all said and done. Now, part of that is they're having to reroute some utility lines, which is going to kind of push the completion to the 2026 season. Now, you know, behind me, we're battling a little bit of chilly weather, which is kind of a rare thing this time of year, but they are working like crazy. We have seating line to line, basically suites framed from the first base side all the way to behind home plate. So they'll
Oh,
continue to frame those, but it's going to be one of the premier setups in all of college sports. It really will. And it's been really cool because Coach V really got to kind of put his stamp on the construction with everything. But it's not only that, they're doing, you know, right across the street, our football indoor is undergoing a huge
okay.
renovation, new dorms going up. So it's really exciting time.
And like I played in Elizabethton when I got drafted by the Twins years
Yeah.
ago, and like I think it was Carter County out there. The amount of energy for Knoxville and like the Vols, and it was the first time I had been introduced to it. I was like, oh, these people bleed some Tennessee Vols, so it makes sense. You guys will be filling it up down there. What else? So recruiting wise, like you guys are kicking butt, doing a great job, bringing in good players, evaluating at a high level. What do you see as like the next wave where you got rosters going to 34, things are getting cut down, they're all adjustments? How are you guys preparing for the future, and how has it affected you guys internally that there is so many question marks?
Yeah, no, it is. It's concerning at times, right? Again, just the unknown. But again, when it comes to recruiting, I think in the SEC, it's how do we get the best group of ball players together, period,
Mm,
right? So again, our thing is we got to make sure we're taking care of our current team always, always aware of recruiting. That's an all the time. I mean, it never stops, right? So, but also too, it means you're going to have to lean on your relationships more, like whether it be, you know, some of our superstar guys on the West Coast this year were maybe you're out there and I got to call and say, hey, like, is there any, are we going to get this guy? Right.
mhm.
And that meant to be with, you know, with you guys, or whether it be professional, you know, the big league teams we can call that we have relationships now with over the years. So
Yeah.
um, I think the objective stays the same, put together the most talented team of great kids you can. And then we'll just wait for the rules, and whatever they are, we'll try to do them as good or better than anybody else. So that's kind of where we've put our focus in the interim, but there is change coming. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see what the finality of that is.
Now, a little bit the developing side of things, because you guys, the other thing you've done really well is develop, right? These arms have developed really well on campus. The bats have developed really well. It's just kind of become the factory. Now, you do have so many prospects, though. So, like, all these guys are coming in, and when I'm looking at it, right, I know your recruiting class intimately. I know everything about these guys. Wow, it's a lot of dudes. Is it difficult for you culture-wise to balance, hey, we have a lot of not egos, but like, hey, these guys are really talented, tons of accolades, but you and Tony have done a great job of like giving some developmental time to each of these guys, keeping them along. Oh, Christian Moore becomes a first rounder. Oh, this guy becomes a seven-figure guy. Oh, and I can't remember that kid who was there for 4 years and then ended up making like $2 million.
Trey Lipscomb.
Lipscomb, he's like the
Yeah,
poster child of like this guy hung around the
yeah.
program and became a dude. What is it about the culture that allows you guys to continue to develop within the program?
I just think it starts with Tony Vitello. I mean, ultimately, when kids pick Tennessee, it's because they want to play for him.
Mhm.
And I think you know him well. I've known him my whole life now. I first met him when he was recruiting me when we were 14,
Oh,
15 years
heading down the
old,
Round
right?
Rock. You just
Yeah, no, that was a long time ago now. But we always talk about being a good teammate. That's it. I mean, that takes care of a lot of things. So the one thing we have no tolerance for is just guys being bad teammates. And then the thing is now with the culture, with how secure it is and how organically it's been built over the years, it takes care of itself. Guys that are not good teammates, it just doesn't work out here. And again, that's a thing we talk about in recruiting because we are very blessed with we're going to have one of the best stadiums in college baseball. We have Frank, we have Coach V, a phenomenal support staff. It's just a matter of getting really good players, and then we take care of them. We do, whether it be, hey, I need swings at night, or hey, I just need to. I've talked to guys at 1 in the morning after the 0 for 4.
oh,
I think talk about like being a teammate, like that's a two-way street. Like, well, I always tell guys like I work for you. Like if you need swings, I'm here, right, or whatever it may be. So again, I think that's been our style here, and it's a real thing, and I think that's why guys come back. I mean, downstairs this morning, there's 15 ex-pro guys working out here, and they want to come back and be here. So, but yeah, just being a good teammate that takes care of everything else if you do that, and that's a staple of our building and always will be.
and you guys had the coaching staff having the players' backs, it sounds like is ultra important to the kid, right? To be able to buy in and step on campus. And it sounds to me, and you know what, this is from behind the scenes. The way I look at it is like you guys seem to have a plan for each kid. And everybody is on their own deal. Like they all want to play in the big leagues, but we're all here as a team united to try to get to Omaha, obviously win the national championship last year that has shown that success. But does each kid kind of have, hey, this is your plan. This is where you're going.
Yeah, no, we have a really good process. It's just because we have great people in the building too. So, I mean, really, it starts with like our training staff, like with Jeff Wood, is superstar. He's worked with like 18 first-round picks.
Oh,
So as far as
Jesus.
just like being able to show up every day, to punch the time clock, like he keeps our guys ready to go. Our dietitian, Beth Schwartz, is a superstar. Has worked at Mississippi and some other places in the league. Has family here as far as like staying on the guys of what's important, the consistency. Because for me, I think that's a huge thing young kids miss is they think I'm good. I can eat McDonald's and then go play the 8 a.m. game, or not eat breakfast and play the 8 a.m.
Mhm.
game. Or it's like that's a skill where I've seen freshmen just kind of wither away over the course of
Yeah.
the year because they don't take care of their business. And then Q, our strength coach, superstar. I'm
Oh,
sure you've
yeah.
heard about him. I mean, that's my guy. We were together when I was in the minor leagues in Rome. And then when we came over here, coach, he was like, "Hey, who you got for a strength guy?" I was like, "I got the perfect guy." And so he's been here for a while. But again, I think it's we have really good people that really care about the guys individually, and then the guys know they can get. Hey, maybe I need some more time with Q on mobility, or hey, I need more swings in the cage, or more time with Frank, or I need to go see McCann, who's a superstar, or Stovall. Hey, I need to dive into analytics. So I think the availability, but then also like the individuality to like we always talk about we want to have the best buffet in the league. And you go pick what you want to eat, but if it's something you need, it's on the plate. So everyone's going to kind of grab what they need. But yeah, that's what we try to do here. Tony's the one that makes that possible. So
I
we're all
I
thankful for that.
love that. The buffet of like going down the line. You talked about especially freshmen. I think back to last year, like the freshmen coming in did such a great job. It is a long season. And like any kids in
Yeah.
high school, like and you're talking about now, like gotta eat, right? You gotta get stronger. And then once you hit college, you see it every year. This freshman All-American, and then in like June, they hit that wall.
Oh
And
yeah.
you got to prepare for June. I'm sure you guys are like, right? You're expecting, not expecting, but you're trying to go back and win another national championship. Yeah, it's February or it's January now. February, we're getting ready for June. Okay, we need you to be strong then.
Yeah, no, that's an all-encompassing thing. I think you want to be at your best when your best is required. I think that's the famous quote heard from all the coaches, right? So it's like the little things are what's going to matter most. And you've been to Hoover, I mean, I love Hoover, one of my favorite events of the year. It is hot. I mean,
Oh yeah.
really hot there. Those day games are cooking, right? So again, that's where you can see guys like, hey, just whether it be just hydration, recovery, like again, we've been putting things like, hey, where guys go get, and we had our massage therapist travel down to make sure our guys were taken care of last year in Hoover because we were there for the whole time, right? But getting guys to buy into that is huge because it pays dividends not only here but eventually in pro ball because I
Oh
mean
yeah.
you're a first round pick and you know how it is. It's like guys kind of wither away, like real good in April, real good in May, and then disappear in June and July. No one can find them, right? So whether it be an arm deal, or and again, knock on wood, I don't even want to bring that up, but again, it's the consistency thing. Vitale is one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard from. It's like baseball is not what you can do; it's how many times can you do it. And we've lived it in pro ball. That's a big
I
one,
love
right?
that.
So that's something our guys really buy into here.
I love that, and I'm thinking like Drew Beam now. I'm biased pitcher guy, so like the whole year, I think back like, oh, when I was throwing like at 100 innings, right? You're kind of like, yo, let me get to the finish line. Whereas you guys are in Omaha. Hey, this is a 3-game series. We need you at your best now. And like
Oh
Drew
yeah.
Beam was, and like went through some lumps throughout the year, but like was one of my favorite arms. So like I was following him really closely. To have that preparation, to have the staff, to have the massage therapist, to go against my bad voodoo where I'm always hoping for rain in Hoover because I'm on the West Coast and I want like a 1 a.m. game so I can watch games late. So I'm sorry about that. But that's really awesome stuff.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's really cool. There's no doubt about it.
Let me just ask you one more thing about recruiting before I dive into a couple of fun things. Just with thresholds, and we get questions all the time, like, oh, how do we separate this guy? My kid is this across the infield. My kid ran a 6.5, whatever it may be. Do you work with, hey, there's a certain threshold for us, like that the immediacy of I'm looking at this, but it's not the end all be all. So just for some data purposes, are there things, hey, yeah, we're looking at these few things, but like there's more that goes into it?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. So I'll give you kind of two sides. So when Coach V and I were at Arkansas working for Coach Van Horn, he was always big on to play shortstop in the SEC, to play center field, and I don't know what the exact number was now looking back, but hey, this guy's got to be under this 60 time or whatever
Mm.
it may be. That guy's pretty smart. Been to Omaha a million times. So anytime he would say something like that, I'd kind of take a mental note and put it in my pocket for later. But now the flip side of that is like, and I'm sure you've done it too. I played with guys that run a 6'1", 60, and they're awful base runners, like
Oh yeah.
just not good, like more straight line instead of on a turn. And then guys like Blake Burke, he's one of my favorite players I've ever coached. Absolutely love the kid with all my heart. And the most excited we were last year is when he got to double digit stolen bases. And it's just a matter of like, hey, having some feeling,
Ricky
you
Henderson
know,
over the back.
pretty much. But just like again, knowing how we talk about hunting or when's appropriate or when's a good time. We don't want to take the bat out of anybody's hand, but again. So I think it's kind of having some feel. Like to me, as long as you're not like too far in the red. So it's like, hey, if you want to play in the SEC as an infielder, you're running 8.260, like that
Yeah.
ain't gonna work, right? So it's like as long as you stay completely away from the outliers, one way or the other. But either way, regardless of the actual X of what the time is, that's a data point, but not a decision maker, if that
It's
makes
the
sense.
way I try to relate it to parents, like, this is kind of your resume, right? So,
Yeah.
this guy coming in here, "Hey, you ran a 6'9". He's not running a 6'5". I'll look at this. When you're going in for the job interview, that's Coach Elander showing up to watch you in game.
Yeah. No, I think again for sure. It's never going to be like I said. If a guy's a 6'9", 6'5", 7 flat, like I know, okay, that it's within the actual range that is probably going to be applicable to a guy that we're going to take, as long as it's not so far to the outlier on the 8.77. Like you better hit balls 900 feet if you're going to be over there.
I'm always doing it like with the stopwatch. Like, what'd you get there? 189, 192. It was good. It was clean transfer. It's a strong arm. Like when it came down to it,
Yeah.
like what was he down the line? Like he's 15. Like he was fast. He had good stride. Like it looked nice. It was fluid.
Well, it's funny you say that because again, I've learned I owe all the credit of anything we've had to V here, and I'm not trying to be modest. I'm being serious, but when he goes on the road recruiting, doesn't take a stopwatch, doesn't take a radar gun, and he just watches intently. So that's something I've tried to take, and he's always said even with pitchers, like you can tell, like you can tell when the velo is where it needs to be, and if he's moving the right way. And I think a lot of times, like it's happened to me before, like you're watching the pitcher, like at a huge event. Like remember, we are both at the USA trials is a huge one too. Like the pitcher's on the mound's a dude, the catcher's a dude. I'm trying to get the run time, like I'm trying to get all these times, and I look up and I missed half the play, or whatever it may be. And I see Vitello down there who's got it all locked in and just a crazy good memory. So I do like both sides. I'm a stopwatch guy. I like the TrackMan more than just the radar gun now, but I think both can work. I think it's just whatever your strategy is.
I'm with like I'm notorious stopwatch. I like more so just as a fidgeting tool for me at this point. And I'm sure Tony would come down to like in the end, it's a yes or no. Like when it comes down to it, are we getting this guy or no? Not
Yeah.
not like, hey, show me your work. Hey, I need the answer. Like when it comes
Yeah. No, it's been cool. Like I've learned over the years, like sometimes going on the road and getting a bad look and it becoming a no is a good thing in a weird way because then I can move to the next guy. But the mistakes I've made over the years in recruiting, not always, but one of the common themes kind of looking back and trying to get better as you go is I had to maybe try to convince myself when I was on the edge of yes or no and pushing myself too far to yes and maybe not being as objective there as I needed. So I think that you said it perfectly. Like now we're very fortunate where it needs to be a yes or a no. And the in between is usually going to be a no.
It's incredible the direction we're headed now. But even you, thanks for talking about like the growth as a recruiter. And it always seems to me the more you see, the better you get. Which Tony sees everything. It's one of the things I always push forward. Like, oh, you think it's easy being at Tennessee? Try working like Tony Vitello is right now because he's at every game. You see him everywhere. And he's down the line. You think he's on the phone doing all this stuff, but he is evaluating at all times. And I grew up amongst a lot of pro guys who like you always thought they weren't watching, and then they would recite every single thing that just happened in the game. So I respect that as much as anything. I do want to ask you, end with something fun here, and this is going to be brought to you by our new shop. So shop.prepbaseball.com. I got this little quarter zip, nice heavy one. Like I got a little. This is going to be really helpful. You're talking about being a little chilly there. I might have to send the staff over at Tennessee some of this stuff. But check it out, shop.prepbaseball.com. I want to ask you, I'm a huge cold brew guy. I come to Knoxville. Where do I go get a coffee and where am I eating? You got any spots for me?
Okay, I would go coffee. Easy one is Old City Java. Okay, it's kind
Old
of on the
City job. I'm writing this down now.
yeah, you got Market Squares right across the way. Tons. I
Okay.
mean, there's probably 50 amazing restaurants, but kind of a different vibe. It's up and coming. There's a AAA stadium going in for the Cubs,
Oh,
maybe two,
okay.
300 yards from that. So that area has been amazing how much they've invested in there. And then restaurant, man, we are blessed. We have a ton of good ones. So
You can give me
let me
three.
ask you.
No more than
Okay.
three, though.
Okay, three. Party of three. I'll go. Number one is Stock and Barrel,
Okay.
grass-fed, local burgers, some bourbon. Again, really kind of small, speakeasy vibe. Great food.
In.
Chivo,
I mean, I'm coming this year
it's
now.
a must. It's a must. Chivo Taqueria is on Gay Street, right around the corner from that. Amazing quesadillas. Buffalo shrimp burritos are dangerously good.
Are they open
It's
late? It sounds like a
they
place that's
are.
open late.
They are. Yeah,
Okay.
we take recruits there all the time. And then three, I'll go kind of out of left field. We'll go. There's some good ones, but I'll go Chesapeake's. It's kind of it's in kind of between downtown. It's a seafood place. Also have really good steaks, oysters. Again, kind of a different mix up than the traditional, maybe burger Mexican food or whatever. So can't go wrong with any of those.
Oh man, Coach D giving us all the good spots. I can't wait to get to Knoxville. Maybe I can sneak my way into one of those new luxury boxes on campus when they get open. But Josh, I really appreciate you coming on. Excited to follow you guys all spring. Tell the rest of the staff, Tony and all the guys over there. Looking forward to watching them try to repeat again here in 2025. Good luck to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Shooter. Look forward to having you in town soon.
And everybody else, until next time, we'll see you at the ballpark.